Hey guys, today I want to talk about the dangers of war in the Philippines. There's been a lot of rhetoric going around lately. The United States has been saying some things about China. They need to back off, talking about a hotline possibly to China. There's been a lot of stuff in the news about all this different thoughts of people possibly starting a war maybe because somebody gets hurt or something like that. They've already had 4 people hurt, 4 Filipinos hurt apparently, from what I read online. The president here has also stated he's really concerned that something might happen, something might escalate, somebody might do something that might start the war. And that's usually the way some wars start. There's some small infraction or something like that and something big happens. And I think China's pushing on the Philippines being the bully. And when somebody gets bullied, after a while, they want to fight back. And I think when you're bullying a country, it's one thing. But when you're bullying a ship, it's another thing. And what I mean by that is this, is that when you're firing a hose off at a ship and trying to wash down the sailors that are on deck and stuff like that, and they're following, eventually you're going to piss somebody off, you know, and somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's gonna, you know, maybe crack their skull or something like that, or even die or something. And then what happens? Then people start losing tempers and stuff. And you know, in the military, people do lose their tempers still, you know, and something could happen. Somebody could fire off a shot or something like that. Maybe his friend got hurt and he's ticked off and he fires off a couple rounds at a ship or something. It could happen. These are things that could happen. And I'm not trying to get too political here, because this is something that the president himself was talking about the other day, that an accident could happen out there and it could escalate to a war. And I don't like to talk about the political stuff, the political aspect of this. It could happen to an American ship just as well. American ship, if it went out there to try to replenish that ship out there that they try to keep bringing food out to, and supplies to resupply it, and the Chinese keep hosing the people down that do it because they want the ship removed, and it's not even their island; it's the Philippine island. But they've been bullying the people out there for a long time because they want that ship out of there. I'm sure if they left for a day, the Chinese would swoop right in there, pull the ship off, and sink it out at sea or whatever. I'm sure that would happen, you know. But this is how wars start, and I'm sure at some point, I think a war is probably going to happen over here. The question is how big it's going to be. The president here was speaking, I think it was last week or something like that. He spoke. He says the Philippines will probably be the place where the next war is fought again. You know, and usually when big countries have wars, they don't want to fight it on their turf. You know, they don't want to fight it on their turf. They want to fight it somewhere else, because all the land that gets destroyed and stuff like that isn't on that country. It's not their country. They want to fight it somewhere else. So they have these proxy wars, let's say in the Philippines or wherever else, just like the Japanese in the United States. And the Philippines has already been in proxy wars before, you know, being in the middle of things. And the thing back during World War II was that the Philippines was actually still part of the United States. It wasn't the Philippines as a country. It was actually part of the U.S., just like Guam. It was one of our places, and we fought for that because we didn't want Japan to have a piece of our country. It'd be like if Russia took over Alaska or something like that. It's the same thing basically. You know, we have all these small countries, small islands and stuff that we have, that the United States has, like Guam and many, many others that we have. And we don't really talk about those islands that much. But if some country went in there and took those over, I'm sure the United States would swoop back in there, because those spots are very useful spots for the U.S. because it puts us in prime areas that we need. And right now, the Philippines is a prime area. We need this spot here, because if China's going to start a war, we need bases. And China right now is kind of surrounded. We're surrounding China by being in Japan, being in Korea. We're all over the place over here, kind of surrounding them. They don't have, much area there that they can come out without running into a U.S. ship or something. That's why they hate it when we're going through the Taiwan Straits all the time, or anywhere that they go, and they're trying to say that we own the China Sea, it's all ours, and they write this 9-dash line and tell everybody, well, that's ours. It's just like me writing in crayon, and circling the United States and say, hey, I own the United States. Of course I don't, but that's what China's basically doing. They're being a bully. Everybody knows that they have all this weaponry and stuff, and they're kind of crazy. And that's exactly what they are, is they're kind of crazy with some of the ways that they think about things. They think that they can just bully people and push people around and say, well, you're causing all the problems. It's not us. It's because you're doing this and you're doing that. That's just rhetoric. It's just crazy rhetoric from a bully. I'm sure all you guys remember seeing the bully in school or whatever, and the bully in school would be picking on some kid or something like that. And you watch it, and it's kind of sad to watch sometimes. And it's kind of sad to watch this here too. Watch China bully countries. They've bullied other countries down here in the South Pacific here into going on their side, letting them have bases or what have you in there. And it's because they hold debt over their head. We won't buy your debt. We won't give you loans. We won't do this here unless you give us a port and you give us a base there or whatever. And this is the sad part about what's going on in the world today. There's so much going on that sooner or later something's got to give. And I do think that the United States is already getting ready over here. They're sending lots of troops. They're sending lots of people. We're using shared bases now. I don't think we'll ever go back to the bases where, we have like Subic and all these Air Force bases all around the Philippines. Now they're just shared bases. A lot of people have been asking me, Steve, can you go on base there and use the Navy Exchange or something like that? You can't, because they're shared bases. We can't go on these bases. They're a foreign base, and it'll never be that way like it was back in the old days, back in the 80s. And you could go on base and stuff like that if you were an American citizen and probably use the Navy Exchange or what have you, or whatever, the PX. You could go to these places. Not going to happen anymore. The world is really, really changing super, super fast, almost at a speed that's incomprehensible when you think about it, because I look at things here and it's not really slow. It's fast. I've been watching this bullying thing off the coast here for years since I got here. It's been going on for a long, long time. And I think we're getting to the point now where everybody's sick of it and something's got to give sooner or later. We have United States ships right off the coast here. They're always pulling in to the Philippines here. And thank God that they are pulling in here, because it's a show of strength. And I think by Americans being here, that's also a show of strength. But it also makes any country that lets the U.S. in, it makes them a target. Whether it be the Philippines or whether it be Malaysia or some other country or whatever country, Germany, it makes them a target in the eyes of some other countries like Russia. Russia I'm sure looks at a lot of those bases as, hey, this is against us. We don't like that. But we're talking, it also goes with China too. China is the big Asian bully. And I think they always will be, because they can. And I think Xi has these ideas, and it's not about Taiwan. I think eventually they will take back Taiwan. I think that'll be the first thing. But I don't think they'll stop there. I think what's going to happen is they're going to say to themselves, well, if we take back Taiwan, we need to keep going. And the reason being is because if the United States and other countries too probably will jump in on the fight to keep them out of Taiwan. And I think, and also Australia, maybe, and maybe India, some other countries also. I think these other countries are going to get involved in that. And I know a lot of expats out there don't believe that that's ever going to happen. I do think it's going to happen. And those are my thoughts on it. I do think they are going to go into Taiwan, but I don't think they're going to stop there. I don't think you build up a navy and all the weaponry that they've built up just to take back Taiwan. I don't think you do that. I think you build up weaponry like that because you want to take back all the things around and inside that 9-dash line that they drew, and maybe a few countries outside of that 9-dash line, and say, okay, now we're all set. We don't have to worry about this. This is all our shipping lanes now. That's what's happening. The bully wants more area. He wants more property. And with a growing country of more than 1 billion people, and having to feed those people every day, you need fish. You need an ocean to fish in. You need more ocean to fish in because you're emptying the seas. And they go all over the world already and steal from fisheries that aren't even theirs because they're bullies. They go off Argentina. They go off of Central and South America. They go into these places where the fisheries are really stocked with fish and just rape it and leave barely anything moving there at all. They've destroyed reefs off of here in the Philippines. Totally destroyed them. It looked like they used dynamite on them, and I actually believe that they did use dynamite, and they just basically wrecked the reef so the Philippine fishermen don't have a place to fish anymore out there. That's very highly destructive, and it's very, it could lead to starvation in a lot of countries if they keep. That's like fighting a battle in itself right there. You're making people starve, and unfortunately, that's the way these people think. And when you go to war, anything can be destroyed. Everything is a potential target. Everything becomes a target because if I can do this to them, well, this will starve them. That's the way of thinking when you're at war. And it happened during World War II. We did it, and I'm sure they'll do the same thing. Unfortunately, I think we're coming to a head. I think within the next 4 or 5 years, probably less, the United States, Australia, Taiwan, and maybe many other countries will probably be at war or a war of some sort with China. Will it be a Cold War? I hope it would be a Cold War rather than a real war, but it does seem like we are heading towards a real war. And I really wouldn't consider this a Cold War that we're having now, but we are kind of at war with China, whether we like it or not. China has all our debt. They hold a lot over the U.S.'s head. If we did go to war, I'm sure a lot of that debt would come into play, and we could say, okay, we don't owe you anything anymore. You caused the war, we're not paying you back. The winner gets all the spoils. So if the U.S. wins against China, it's all about that debt. And that could be another reason why we go to war. But maybe we don't want to talk about it, but I think that might be the reason why we go to war. We're looking for something to start a war with China because we can get out from underneath all that debt. What is it, $160,000 per every U.S. citizen? Now, these are just my thoughts, I could be off a little bit on my thoughts. I could be right. I'm just going off of what I've read, what I've seen, and it is interesting to talk about, certainly, and you guys can leave your comments on there. But I do think we are headed towards some sort of war in the future. And I think if we go to war, I think India would get involved. I think a lot of countries would get involved against China. It's definitely a dragon that has to be stopped. Anyway, guys, God bless. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's show. You can leave your comments down below.